I meant it as a joke, but the alien princess believed I called her babe. HFY Reddit. Daniel Carter wiped the sweat from his brow and muttered under his breath as the ship's main translator continued to glitch. It had been 3 hours of non-stop beeping and static, and every time he tried to fix it, the device seemed determined to rebel. The diplomatic hall of the Zelthari capital shone with cold blue light, reflecting off smooth metallic walls that made Daniel feel small, even though he was already on edge. Humans had been invited as observers, but Daniel, being the engineer responsible for the translator, had ended up at the center of the tension. The room was crowded. Zelthari nobles with shimmering skin and elongated limbs hovered politely, their 6 eyes observing every human gesture. At the far end, Princess Lyra sat on a raised platform. Her presence was commanding, even without a crown. Daniel had read about her in reports, intelligent, strategic, known for her sharp wit, but seeing her in person was different. She didn't just observe. She seemed to absorb the room's energy, like a predator quietly measuring her surroundings. Daniel's heart pounded as another beep escaped the translator. Come on, he whispered, kneeling over the device. He adjusted a wire, prayed, and sighed in relief when the device gave a steady hum. But just as he looked up, ready to report that the problem was fixed, he saw Princess Lyra lean forward, one eyebrow arched, and the council waiting in complete silence. He had to say something, anything, to break the tension. Relax, babe, Daniel said automatically, trying to inject humor into the room. He immediately realized his mistake. The words had left his mouth before he even thought. He had meant it jokingly. Humans often used sarcasm to lighten pressure, but the translator, still slightly unstable, amplified the tone and delivered it in a calm, formal voice to the Zelthari. The room went still. Even the beeping of the translator seemed to pause. Every pair of Zelthari eyes focused on him, and Daniel felt like a bug under a magnifying glass. The nobles whispered among themselves, their language melodious but fast. Daniel had no idea what they were saying, but judging by the sharp glances, it was not good. Princess Lyra's head tilted slightly, her multiple eyes narrowing in curiosity. Then, to Daniel's horror, she smiled. Not a small, polite smile, but a wide, bright smile that made her look almost amused. She leaned forward, resting her hands on the console in front of her, and said something to the council. The translator hummed again, converting it to a phrase Daniel could understand. He has called me his chosen companion. How brave. Daniel's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No, that's not. He started, but his voice came out in a stilted translation that sounded like agreement. The translator had misinterpreted his panic. In Zelthari culture, taking a statement literally and calmly meant formal acceptance. Daniel's heart sank. He had just accidentally announced himself as the princess's chosen companion in front of the entire royal council. He could feel the sweat running down his back as whispers turned into murmurs and then into audible conversation. One noble floated closer to the translator, pointing at Daniel with long, delicate fingers. Another tilted its head as if testing a theory. Daniel's mind raced. How could he fix this without creating a galactic incident? How could he explain that babe was a joke in human slang and not a proposal of interstellar significance? Princess. Lyra stood, her movement graceful and deliberate. She walked toward Daniel, her presence making the room feel warmer and smaller at the same time. She stopped a few feet away and extended one of her hands, not in aggression, not in demand, but in curiosity. Human, she said, her voice melodic, almost musical. Your words are bold. Few dare speak so casually to a princess. Tell me, is this bravery or foolishness? Daniel swallowed hard. His usual quick wit seemed to vanish. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. What could he say that wouldn't make things worse? Finally, he muttered, "It was a joke. I didn't mean..." But the translator, true to form, twisted his stammer into a formal declaration of admiration and courage. The council erupted in polite, controlled applause, a ritual Daniel did not understand. He turned toward the human, ambassador, who was now looking at him like he had just set the embassy on fire. "Daniel," the ambassador hissed. "What did you just do?" Daniel ran a hand over his face. I said babe. That's it. That's all. I meant it as a joke." "Congratulations," the ambassador said, a mix of disbelief and exasperation in his voice. "You've just become a symbol of human boldness to an alien species." Princess Lyra's eyes met his, and instead of the anger he expected, she laughed, a soft musical sound that seemed to echo through the hall. "Boldness, indeed," she said. "Come, human. We must talk. Your words have interest and I enjoy learning from those who dare to speak plainly." Daniel blinked. The princess wasn't angry. She was genuinely curious. And somehow, despite all the panic and embarrassment, he felt a strange spark of hope. Maybe this mistake wasn't the end. It could be the beginning of something extraordinary. As he followed her toward a side chamber, Daniel wondered how one careless word could turn a quiet diplomatic visit into the most chaotic day of his life. Somewhere deep down, he knew nothing would ever be the same, and somehow that scared him less than he expected. Daniel sat stiffly in the side chamber, still trying to process what had just happened. He had come to fix a translator, not accidentally announce himself as the princess's chosen companion. His palms were sweaty, and his stomach twisted in knots. Across from him, Princess Lyra reclined on a floating seat, her 6 eyes fixed on him with a calm intensity that made him feel both nervous and strangely safe. "You humans speak in strange ways," she said finally, her voice soft but firm. "Your humor confuses, yet it intrigues. Why do you speak without thought yet feel so much?" Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. I didn't mean anything serious. It was just a joke. In my culture, calling someone babe can mean anything. Friendly, teasing, nothing important." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your culture values words less than deeds?" Daniel laughed nervously. "I guess you could say that. Humans often say things without thinking. Usually it's harmless, but, well, sometimes it's not." He paused, realizing how inadequate his explanation sounded. "I really didn't mean to offend you." She leaned forward slightly. "You did not offend me. On the contrary, your words show courage. Most humans would hide behind formality. But you spoke plainly. That is, admirable." Daniel blinked. "Admirable? You're saying my mistake is a good thing?" Lyra smiled. "In my culture, words spoken boldly without hesitation are signs of honesty and strength. Even if you intended them as a joke, you have shown a quality we respect." Daniel let out a long breath. He had been expecting anger, perhaps even punishment, but here she was, praising him for what he thought was a blunder. He swallowed, trying to match her calmness. I guess that's good." "Yes," she said simply. "It is good, but it also complicates matters." Daniel froze. "Complicates?" "The council has heard your words. Your humor, your courage. They now represent your species. Humans are seen as bold, even reckless. Some see this as a strength, others as a threat. Your joke has made you a symbol before we even know you." Daniel's stomach dropped. "A symbol? For real? I'm just me. I'm not supposed to be a symbol. I fix things, not politics." Lyra's laugh was soft and musical. "Perhaps you are more than you know. Perhaps this is your first lesson. In the galaxy, actions or words carry weight. Even a joke can shape how worlds perceive you." Daniel groaned. He had never wanted responsibility on this scale. He was a simple engineer, not a diplomat. He was used to small mistakes being fixed with duct tape and a few clever adjustments. Now, his offhand comment had turned into a galaxy-wide headline. Lyra studied him, her expression thoughtful. "Tell me, human, do you fear this responsibility?" "Yes," he admitted honestly. I never asked for this. I just wanted to fix a translator." Her 6 eyes softened. Yet you face it. You did not run away, did you? Daniel shook his head. No, I don't know what else I could do. Running might make it worse. Good, she said. The way forward is not to hide, but to understand and adapt. You will learn quickly or you will be overwhelmed. Daniel nodded, though he felt anything but ready. The chamber fell quiet for a moment, broken only by the soft hum of the ship's systems. He glanced at Lyra, noting the calm intelligence in her eyes, the way she seemed to see everything at once, and he felt a strange mix of awe and fear. What happens now? He asked finally. Lyra tilted her head, considering. Now you learn our ways. You spend time with me. You understand our culture, our politics, our rituals. You must not offend, yet you must not lose yourself. Balance is the key. Daniel blinked. Spend time with you? Like one-on-one? Yes, she said, smiling faintly. To prepare you for what is coming, you must know who you speak to and who speaks to you. You will be observed. Your words, actions, even gestures will have meaning. Daniel's mouth went dry. He had survived countless engineering emergencies, some that could have ended in catastrophe, but nothing had ever made him feel this exposed. Observed? Like a test? Lyra's smile widened. Life is a test, human. Today your words became part of it. How you proceed will shape not just you, but how others see your species. You are a representative, whether you like it or not. Daniel exhaled slowly. He realized that despite his panic, he was intrigued. Here he was, a human in an alien court, suddenly caught up in something far bigger than any mechanical repair. He wasn't just fixing machines now. He was navigating a living, complex world of culture, politics, and somehow personal connection. He looked at Lyra, her presence both intimidating and strangely comforting. Okay, he said finally. I'll try. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do my best. Her smile became gentle. That is all anyone can ask. Courage is not the absence of fear, human, but the choice to act despite it. Remember this, and you will endure. As Daniel nodded, he realized that the worst mistake of his life had turned into something unthinkable, an opportunity. And whether he wanted it or not, he was now part of a story that would change not only him, but how the galaxy saw humanity. The news of Daniel's words spread faster than he could imagine. By the next morning, human observers and Zelthari nobles alike were whispering about the bold human who called the princess Babe. Daniel tried to slip quietly into the mess hall for breakfast, hoping no one would notice him. But whispers followed his every step. Even the ship's AI seemed to notice, greeting him with a polite, almost conspiratorial tone. Good morning, Daniel Carter. The council requests your presence soon. Daniel groaned. He had barely slept, replaying the moment over and over in his mind. What had started as a joke now felt like a massive responsibility. He wasn't a diplomat. He was just a human engineer who liked to tinker with machines. And yet somehow the galaxy had decided he represented humanity's boldness. When he entered the main council chamber, he froze. Representatives from neighboring species had arrived. Many had 6 or more limbs, some gliding or hovering, and all had eyes that seemed to pierce straight through him. Daniel's stomach tightened. These weren't just curious spectators. They were evaluating him, the human, as a reflection of his species. Princess Lyra floated in gracefully, as if sensing his hesitation. She gave him a small nod, signaling that he should step forward. Daniel obeyed, his legs shaking slightly. The chamber was silent, every alien eye on him. One of the elder Zelthari, a tall figure with glowing markings along his arms, leaned forward. Human, he said, his voice calm but demanding attention. Your words have reached the galaxy. They speak of audacity and unconventional behavior. How do you justify them? Daniel blinked. I didn't mean anything serious. It was just a joke. In my culture, humor is often used to ease tension. A ripple ran through the council. Some of the representatives whispered, while others tilted their heads thoughtfully. Daniel realized that in this context, Jokes weren't trivial. They carried meaning, especially if misinterpreted. He swallowed hard. I didn't intend to challenge anyone or disrespect your customs. I simply wanted to lighten a tense moment. So. Representative from a bird-like species flapped its wings lightly, emitting a series of melodic tones that the translator rendered as curious. This human is reckless, yet sincere. Daniel tried to bow slightly, unsure of the etiquette, but the gesture seemed to impress some members of the council. Princess Lyra's calm presence helped him stay grounded. She stepped closer, whispering so only he could hear. Your honesty serves you well. Maintain it, and the council will respect you. Even with her words, Daniel felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. For the first time, he truly understood that humans were seen as unpredictable, sometimes reckless, sometimes brave, but always fascinating to other species. A murmur ran through the chamber. One of the rival species, a reptilian delegation, leaned forward. Boldness can be dangerous, one hissed through the translator. Do we trust this human not to destabilize relations? Daniel's throat went dry. He had never been in a room where a single mistake could have interstellar consequences. I promise to act with respect, he said, his voice steadier than he expected. I don't want to cause harm. I want to learn. The council remained silent for a moment. Then slowly, nods spread across the room. The elder Zelthari spoke again. You are not like other humans we have observed. Your directness is unusual, yet it demonstrates a quality we respect. Courage to speak despite fear. Daniel exhaled, relief washing over him. He still had no idea if he had satisfied everyone, but it seemed he hadn't completely embarrassed humanity either. Princess. Lyra's gentle smile reassured him that he was surviving this unexpected trial. Later, in the private chambers, Lyra floated closer. See how they look at you now? She asked. You represent your species, human. This is why your words matter. Not just to me, but to everyone observing. Daniel nodded slowly. I didn't realize a joke could make me responsible for something so big. Lyra laughed softly. In your culture, perhaps it is a joke. In theirs, it is a statement. Words carry weight. You have learned quickly. Daniel rubbed his temples. I didn't ask to be a symbol for humanity, I just tripped into it. Lyra tilted her head, a thoughtful expression on her face. Sometimes the universe chooses individuals for roles they never sought. You may resist, but the choice is now yours to shape. Will you act with courage or fear? Daniel realized that her question was not just philosophical, it was practical. Every word he spoke, every gesture he made would be observed by countless species. His actions could influence treaties, alliances, even perceptions of humanity for decades. He swallowed. Then I'll try, he said finally. I'll do my best. Even if I fail, I'll try. Lyra's eyes gleamed with approval. Good. The galaxy rewards those who act despite uncertainty. Your humor, your mistakes, they may yet serve as tools. You are a human after all, resourceful, unpredictable, and resilient. Daniel smiled weakly. The weight on his shoulders was heavy. But somehow, knowing that Lyra believed in him made it bearable. Perhaps being a human in the galactic spotlight was terrifying, but it was also an opportunity to show what humans could do when they dared to speak and act boldly. As he left the chamber, Daniel realized that the challenge ahead wasn't just about surviving Zelthari culture. It was about navigating an entire galaxy that now saw him as a symbol. And somehow, even in all this chaos, he felt a spark of excitement. For the first time in his life, his mistakes had real consequences. And that was not entirely a bad thing. After the intense council meeting, Daniel found himself walking through the gleaming corridors of the Zelthari palace with Princess Lyra. The hallways curved like flowing water, and soft light shimmered from the walls, giving the impression that the entire ship was alive. Daniel tried to focus on his footing and not on the fact that he was literally walking with the most powerful alien princess in the galaxy. So, Lyra said, her 6 eyes watching him closely, You are human. You joke, you stumble, and yet you speak boldly. I find this intriguing. Daniel scratched the back of his head nervously. I guess humans are like that. We say things we don't always mean, and sometimes we mean things we don't say. Mostly we're just trying to survive the day without breaking something. Lyra tilted her head. A gesture Daniel had learned meant curiosity. You are very different from the humans I expected. Others have always been cautious, formal, and careful. You are refreshing. Daniel laughed, a little awkwardly. Refreshing? That's a nice way to put it. I was thinking terrifying might be more accurate. She made a soft musical sound that he interpreted as laughter. Perhaps both. Your unpredictability is valuable. To survive, one must adapt. To lead, one must understand others. You, human, may learn both if you observe closely. As they walked, Daniel realized he had so many questions about Zelthari culture. Why does everything feel so precise here? The walls, the lights, even the way you move, it's all perfect. Lyra glanced at him. Perfection is not the goal. Harmony is. We value balance between thought and action, between words and deeds. Chaos is not always destruction, but it is a tool if controlled. Humans, you are naturally chaotic, yet I sense a core of order within you. Daniel felt a strange pride. I guess that's fair. Humans are messy, but we get things done. Lyra's eyes glimmered. Indeed. Perhaps this explains why I enjoy your company. You are unpredictable, yet you have potential. You are a puzzle, and I am intrigued. Daniel's mind raced. A puzzle? That sounds complicated. I just want to understand your culture without accidentally insulting anyone again. Lyra tilted her head, floating closer to him. Then you must observe, listen, and sometimes do nothing. Silence is a powerful teacher. Daniel nodded slowly. He realized that surviving Zelthari politics would require more than charm or humor. It would demand patience and careful observation. I'll try. Honestly, I will. I want to learn. Lyra's expression softened. Good. In learning, you will see that our words are literal. Sarcasm is rare, humor is subtle. To communicate effectively, you must think like us sometimes. Yet, do not lose your human nature entirely. It is what makes you unique. Daniel smiled nervously. So basically, be human but think alien. Got it? She laughed again, and the sound echoed softly along the polished corridor. A fair summary. Perhaps your mistakes are your greatest teacher, human. They show where your instincts clash with our logic, and where your creativity shines. They reached a small observation deck overlooking a nebula. Daniel paused to take in the view. Colors he had never seen before swirled in patterns like liquid glass. Wow, he whispered. It's beautiful. Lyra watched him closely. Yes. And like the nebula, understanding another culture requires attention, patience, and sometimes courage. Humans are often too quick to judge. You are learning slowly, but you are learning. Daniel chuckled. I feel like I've been thrown into a game without reading the instructions, and I keep losing points for joking too much. You will adapt, Lyra said. And perhaps your humor will teach us as much as it does you. The galaxy needs diversity of thought, human. Your perspective, though chaotic, is valuable. You remind us that courage comes in many forms. Daniel swallowed. Somehow hearing that from the princess herself made him feel more confident, even though he still had no idea what the next day would bring. He realized that Lyra was not only his guide to Zelthari culture, but also a mirror of what humans could achieve. Intelligence, poise, and courage combined. For the first time, Daniel saw a path forward. Yes, he had stumbled into this mess with a joke. Yes, he had become a symbol for his species. But now, walking beside the princess, he understood that this was more than politics. This was a chance to show what humans could offer, not just through technology or weapons, but through Ingenuity, humor, and courage. Lyra floated closer, her eyes softening. Do not fear mistakes, human. They are lessons in disguise. And perhaps if you continue to speak boldly even in jest, the galaxy will notice not just your species, but the person you are. Daniel nodded slowly, feeling a spark of determination. I'll try, I promise. I won't let a joke ruin everything or let this opportunity pass. Lyra's gaze lingered on him for a moment. Then she turned toward the corridor. Then let us continue, human. There is much to learn and time waits for no one. Even you, it seems, have become part of history in your own unintentional way. Daniel smiled faintly and followed her, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also a strange excitement. Maybe being human in a galaxy that now watched every word and gesture wasn't so terrifying after all. Maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of something extraordinary. Daniel had started to feel more comfortable moving through the Zelthari Palace, but that sense of ease was about to be tested. One evening, as he and Princess Lyra reviewed star charts in a quiet observation room, the calm hum of the ship was suddenly broken by an alarm. Red lights pulsed along the walls, casting long shadows that made even the polished corridors feel threatening. Lyra's eyes narrowed and she floated to the nearest console. Security breach, she said, her voice steady but urgent. Someone has entered the palace unauthorized. Daniel's stomach twisted. Intruder? Here? Now? Yes. And not just anyone, Lyra said, her tone sharp. A rival house seized this opportunity to disrupt the human Zelthari alliance. They would harm you to weaken our position. Daniel's heart raced. He had never considered himself brave in a fight. Most of his courage came from fixing machines, not defending himself from assassins. Yet now, with the galaxy watching, he had no choice but to act. Lyra moved swiftly, her limbs fluid and precise. Stay behind me, she instructed. We will. Go through the secondary corridors. Follow my lead. The corridors were dark, lit only by dim emergency lights. Shadows danced on the walls as they moved quickly and silently. Daniel struggled to match Lyra's speed, but she seemed to glide effortlessly, anticipating every turn. How do you move like that? He whispered. Practice, she replied without looking back. Balance, timing, and observation. Skills you must learn if you wish to survive here. They reached a junction and Daniel froze. Ahead, a figure lurked in the shadows. The intruder wore a cloak that hid their face, and a faint shimmer suggested hidden weapons. Daniel panicked for a split second, then remembered Lyra's words about courage. He took a deep breath and followed her as she advanced. With fluid motion, Lyra struck first, a swift maneuver that disarmed the intruder and sent them sprawling to the floor. Daniel's eyes widened. He had never seen combat like this. The intruder's limbs were caught, yet Daniel noticed a flicker of intelligence in their movements. They were skilled, dangerous, but still unprepared for Lyra's precision. You must learn to anticipate, she said, glancing back at him. Observe, then act. Your mind is as important as your hands. Daniel nodded, still trembling. He realized that despite the chaos, he had a role to play. He wasn't a fighter, but he could help. Spotting the intruder's discarded device, he grabbed it and deactivated it with quick thinking, preventing an alarm from calling reinforcements. Lyra shot him a glance of approval. The intruder struggled, but Lyra's calm strength was overwhelming. Who sent you? She demanded. The intruder said nothing, their pride or fear keeping them silent. Lyra gestured to Daniel. You see, human. Courage takes many forms. Sometimes it is striking, sometimes it is thinking quickly under pressure. Daniel swallowed, feeling a mix of fear and pride. I think I understand. After the intruder was secured, Lyra led Daniel back to the observation room. The emergency lights dimmed, returning the hallways to their soft, flowing glow. Daniel leaned against the console, trying to catch his breath. That was intense. I didn't think I'd survive this palace alive. Lyra's eyes softened, though the edge of authority remained. You did more than survive. You adapted. You observed, you acted, and you learned. This is what humans can do even when faced with danger. Ingenuity and courage are your greatest strengths. Daniel laughed nervously. I guess improvising under pressure works better than panicking. Yes, Lyra agreed. Humans are unpredictable. Others may see this as reckless, but it is also why your species endures. You do not rely solely on tradition or strength. You adapt, and you survive. Daniel looked out at the stars beyond the observation deck. The nebula swirled in vibrant colors, calm yet powerful, much like Lyra herself. He realized that, despite the danger, he had learned something important. Being human in a galaxy that valued perfection did not mean he had to become flawless. His mistakes, his quick thinking, his humor, they were all part of what made him valuable. Lyra floated closer, her expression thoughtful. You see, human danger tests not only skill but character. How you respond defines who you are and how others see your species. Today you proved that humans are more than their appearance. You are resilient, creative, and courageous. Daniel nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment he had never known. He had faced a threat far beyond his expectations and survived, not by strength alone, but by thinking, observing, and trusting Lyra's guidance. As the calm returned, Daniel realized that this incident had changed him. He was no longer just a human engineer who stumbled into a joke. He was someone capable of facing real danger, representing his species, and learning from every challenge. For the first time, he felt a deep connection to Lyra, not only as a guide but as a partner in navigating the unpredictable galaxy. And somewhere deep down, Daniel smiled. Maybe being human wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about daring to act, daring to learn, and daring to survive even when the odds seemed impossible. Days passed after the intruder incident, and Daniel slowly began to adjust to life in the Zelthari palace. He still stumbled over etiquette and misread social cues, but with Princess Lyra's guidance, he started to understand her culture more deeply. Yet despite his growing confidence, a quiet tension lingered in his mind. The galaxy was watching, and every decision he made could carry consequences far beyond himself. One morning, the human ambassador arrived with a solemn expression. Daniel, he said, lowering his voice, there's a way to undo this situation. He gestured toward Lyra's quarters. If you accept, you could claim the incident was a translation error. No one would blame you. Humanity could step back quietly. Daniel's stomach tightened. A simple explanation, a loophole, a way to avoid all the pressure, all the political weight. He could take it. So, I could just say it was a mistake and everything goes back to normal, he asked cautiously. Yes, the ambassador confirmed. You would no longer be bound in the eyes of the Zelthari. No one would expect anything from you. You could go back to being an engineer, safe and ordinary. Daniel swallowed. It was tempting. He had survived intruders, diplomatic scrutiny, and intense observation. He had faced challenges he never imagined, and yet, deep inside, a part of him resisted the easy way out. Lyra entered the room at that moment, her presence commanding yet calm. She observed Daniel, her eyes softening when she realized the conversation he was having. Human, she said gently. The choice you face is yours alone. To deny the bond would be simple, but it would also show where your courage lies. What do you truly want? Daniel hesitated. He had never been asked that question before, not in his work, not in his personal life. Usually decisions were small, technical, and contained. Now the stakes were vast, touching not only him but the future of human Zelthari relations. I don't know, he admitted. It's easier to step back. But I've learned a lot. I've seen your world, your culture, and I don't want to just leave it all behind. Lyra nodded slowly. Courage is choosing to act despite fear, not the absence of fear. Your hesitation is natural, but it is also part of your growth. The galaxy respects those who make choices with awareness and bravery. Daniel looked down at his hands. He thought about the council, the rival houses, the intruder, and the countless eyes observing every human movement. Yet he also thought about Lyra, not just as a princess but as a guide and partner in this strange, unexpected journey. He realized that his feelings had shifted from fear to respect, and perhaps even something more subtle. "I don't want to run," he said finally, his voice firmer than he expected. "I want to face this. I want to see it through." Lyra's 6 eyes brightened, and a small smile touched her lips. "Then you choose courage over convenience. That is admirable, human. Today you show not only bravery but understanding. You act not out of obligation, but out of your own will." The ambassador looked between them, astonished. "Daniel, you're sure?" "I'm sure," Daniel replied. "I'll stay. I'll do what I can and I'll learn. I won't pretend it's easy, but I'll do it." Lyra extended one of her hands, a gesture of both trust and partnership. "Then let us continue together, human. The galaxy is vast and our journey is only beginning. You have chosen not just to survive but to engage, to learn, and to grow. That is the path of a true representative of your species." Daniel took a deep breath and reached for her hand. The gesture felt strange, yet right. It was a bond forged, not by accident or ceremony, but by shared experience, courage, and mutual respect. He realized that this choice was more than political. It was personal, and it reflected a human quality that other species often underestimated: the willingness to act bravely even in unfamiliar and risky situations. As they stood together, Daniel felt a new sense of purpose. He was no longer merely an engineer or an accidental symbol. He was a human in the galaxy, capable of courage, ingenuity, and connection. And in that moment he understood something important. Mistakes could lead to opportunity. Fear could lead to growth, and choice, intentional choice, was the most powerful force of all. Lyra looked at him with an approving gaze. "Humans are often underestimated," she said softly. "Yet today you show the strength of your species, not in weapons or technology, but in heart, courage, and wisdom. That is something even the galaxy must respect." Daniel smiled, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the thrill of possibility. He knew challenges lay ahead: more scrutiny, more political intrigue, and perhaps more danger, but for the first time he felt ready. He had made a choice that was difficult, but right. And in doing so, he had not only embraced his own courage, but also represented humanity in a way that no one could ignore. The palace seemed quieter now, but Daniel knew that the galaxy beyond the walls was watching. And for the first time, he welcomed it. He was ready to show what humans could do, not just with skill, but with heart. The Galactic Council chamber was alive with tension and anticipation. Delegates from dozens of species hovered in silence, their eyes fixed on the human who had unexpectedly become a symbol of courage and ingenuity. Daniel Carter stood beside Princess Lyra, trying to steady his nerves. He could feel the weight of humanity on his shoulders. Every movement, every word, would be interpreted not just as himself, but as a reflection of his entire species. Lyra's calm presence was a steadying force. She glanced at him, her 6 eyes gentle but firm. "You are ready, human," she said softly. "Speak from your own heart. Speak truthfully. That is all anyone can ask." Daniel swallowed. He had rehearsed speeches in his mind, but none of them felt honest. None captured the absurdity, the chaos, and the unexpected lessons of the past weeks. And then he realized he didn't need a speech crafted for diplomacy. He just needed to speak honestly. He stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Esteemed delegates and citizens of the galaxy," he began, his voice trembling slightly at first. "I am Daniel Carter, a human. I did not expect to be here to speak before you all or to become a symbol. I made a mistake, a joke that was misunderstood. But in that moment I learned something important. Humans are not perfect. We are flawed. We stumble, we laugh, we try, and we learn. And when we act with courage, even when we are afraid, we can accomplish more than we imagine." A murmur ran through the chamber. Daniel felt his confidence growing with each word. I stand here not because I am extraordinary, but because humans are capable of choosing to act bravely, to learn, and to respect others, even in a galaxy full of differences. Princess Lyra has shown me that understanding another culture is not about perfection. It is about attention, patience, and heart. And so I choose to continue this journey. I choose to stand with her, to learn, to represent humanity, and to show that our species is capable of courage, creativity, and connection. The chamber went silent for a heartbeat, as if the galaxy itself paused to listen. Then slowly, applause began. Not loud or chaotic, but deliberate and respectful. One by one, delegates nodded, some murmuring phrases in their own languages. The translator carried the meaning clearly. Humans, it seemed, had earned respect not through technology or power, but through integrity and courage. Lyra's eyes shone with approval. She floated forward, her hand extended. Daniel took it, feeling the weight of both her trust and the responsibility it symbolized. Together they faced the council, united in a partnership forged through missteps, lessons, and shared bravery. From the back of the chamber, Daniel noticed the rival houses watching him closely. Some looked skeptical, others wary. But even they could not deny what they had witnessed. A human who had faced chaos, survived danger, and chosen to act with courage. Daniel realized that this moment was larger than himself. Humanity's reputation, long underestimated by other species, was being rewritten by a single choice. Lyra spoke then, her voice calm and musical. This human has chosen not only for himself, but for his species. Courage is not measured in conquest or dominance, but in willingness to act despite fear, to learn despite ignorance, and to connect despite differences. Let this be a lesson to all. Humans are unpredictable yet resilient. They are flawed, yet capable of greatness. Daniel felt a surge of pride, not arrogance, but the quiet pride of someone who had survived impossible odds and learned from them. He looked around at the chamber, at the beings who had doubted, watched, and now acknowledged him, and realized that this was what being human in the galaxy meant: standing boldly, even when mistakes are made, and choosing to act with heart and courage. As the council deliberated and voices began to hum with renewed discussion, Daniel glanced at Lyra. "So, we did it," he said quietly. "Yes," she replied, her smile soft and genuine. "You acted with courage, human, not because you were forced, but because you chose to. That is why you and your species will be remembered." Daniel let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He felt exhausted, exhilarated, and alive in a way he never had before. He had gone from an engineer joking in a palace hallway to a representative of humanity, standing before the galaxy with confidence, integrity, and a sense of purpose. The chamber lights dimmed slightly, signaling the conclusion of the formal session, but Daniel knew that the story would continue. There would be more challenges, more scrutiny, and perhaps more unexpected moments. Yet he felt ready. The journey had taught him that humanity's strength was not only in skill or intelligence, but in courage, adaptability, and the willingness to connect with others despite fear. For the first time, Daniel truly understood that a single word, even a careless joke, could ripple across worlds. And in that ripple, he had found not just responsibility, but opportunity, respect, and a new definition of human potential. As he stood beside Princess Lyra, looking out at the stars beyond the council chamber, Daniel felt a quiet certainty. He was no longer just a human engineer lost in a galaxy of advanced civilizations. He was a human who had acted bravely, learned deeply, and chosen courage over comfort. And in doing so, he had shown the galaxy the essence of humanity: flawed, unpredictable, but endlessly capable of greatness.